It's your host, Piccia Neri here, and I'm sitting with Meg Fenn from Shake It Up Creative. Meg and I met in 2018, the first time at WordCamp London in April. And we immediately hit it off because we're both designers and we both come from print and then moved to the web. So we see eye to eye in a lot of design matters, and then saw each other again in Brighton. We were both speaking. So we sort of strengthened the budding friendship. And here we are, because as you all know, the Design for Geeks agenda is very much to bridge the gap between designers and developers, and also to champion design as good marketing, good code, good SEO, which is why when Meg told me that she was going to speak at Brighton SEO 2018, I got all excited, because I think it's an absolutely excellent topic. Besides being so impressed, because Brighton SEO is not like WordCamps. WordCamps are all fuzzy and cozy, and there's loads of friends, and it's like being, having a family, doing it as Peach at someone's wedding. It's not the same as a big, scary stage. So super impressed that you were invited, and that that you actually had the courage to go. So to speak. But anyway, so now back to you, Meg. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. You have a really interesting story behind you, so let's hear it.
Okay, thanks, Piccia. Also, first, before I begin a little bit about my story, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on here. I'm thrilled to be on here, because when I just think we had so much to connect over, and actually something that you said as a way to describe how we met and how we connected. You came from a print background, but I actually started design for the internet and then learned the print side. So I kind of did it the opposite way to you.
I didn't know that. Of course, so interesting.
Yeah, and now of course we both do both sides. Okay, so yes, so a little introduction about myself. I'm originally from the United States, which is where I grew up, and then, long story short, because it is quite a long story, I ended up here in the UK after traveling and working in the Czech Republic, and also in Japan, in Tokyo, which I absolutely loved. Both of those places, actually. But I'm here in England. I live in a place called Worthing, which is on the south coast of England, and I came here for love. Basically, I met a British man in Prague, and he basically, after many years of traveling and having a great time, he basically convinced me to come to the UK and marry him. And so that's what I did, and I've been here ever since. And we have 3 children who are all born here, and they are very, very British. So that's been an interesting thread to my life. But yeah, so professionally, I am the director of a design and marketing company called Shake It Up Creative. And we established in 2015. And our core services are web design, marketing, graphic design, PR, and SEO. And I work with, at the moment, there's 2 of us in the company. It's myself and my business partner, who is called Rachel Dines. And so that's what we do. We work full-time in the business with lots of different types of companies, helping them essentially with their marketing. And that's what we do. And I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yes, so that's also why I immediately thought, what an interesting agency, because you are a marketing agency, really, that uses the web and print and other tools to make their clients' businesses grow. So I like the angle, and I like the fact that you consider design really, really important, because that's not always the case. I see so often even web design agencies, you can actually call, let's say WordPress agencies or SEO agencies or marketing agencies. They don't really have a design department or even any design strengths or any proper designers on their team. And I I don't know how to do it, because they do it and they're really successful, and they make their clients' businesses grow. But at that point, I always think, yeah, you know, if your design was better, then if you were stronger in design, think how, you know, even more successful you would be. That's always what I think. So that's, yes, that's why I immediately thought, yes, I like this. I really like it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I come from you know, very much a creative and design background, and that's, you know, it's really important for our business and for our brand for that to shine through, because that is one of the ways that I feel that we are you know, that we are very competitive with some of the other marketing agencies in our areas, that we do have that very strong, you know, kind of design skill, and that design, that, you know, everything kind of comes from that. And but one of the reasons why I wanted to give this talk at Brighton SEO, which was using stunning design to leverage your SEO, and also to highlight the fact that you know, people in agencies, whether working in-house or remotely, should be collaborating better together, because, you know, you know how it is, you know, people tend to work in isolation, they work in, you know, separately, even in the same building, in the same company, and we get so bogged down with the day-to-day work, and we're sometimes, especially as designers maybe, and also developers, I think we get really precious about our work, and almost like we don't want to share it with anybody until it's 100%, until we're 100% happy with it. But actually, if you start that, you know, that sharing process and make it a little bit more agile from the start, then you actually reach those goals quicker and better, and everybody is on the same page, and everybody understands what the end goal is, which is to help the client, and, you know, help the client with their marketing, and so that they can grow their business, because that's what we are all trying to do, right? So that was kind of the reasoning behind the, you know, the Brighton SEO talk.
So I couldn't agree more. I have to make so if sometimes my eyes goes elsewhere, it's because I'm trying to keep, you know, to check if there are comments, because we're live in two places. We're live on the Design for Geeks page, and in the, so I'm just trying, just like, okay, because I don't want to miss anybody. So yay, hi Kim, hi Pez, hi Jan, hi Mike, thank you very much. Yes, and it looks like I can see comments, which doesn't always happen. So if you have comments, guys, please, if you want to, you know, take part, please comment. It's working. I think it's the comments in the group that I'm seeing, because I get very confused with Facebook. Anyway, yeah. It's working. Yes, fantastic. So yes, I couldn't agree more about all of that, because it brings me to two things. One is growth by design, which is something that's, I was at WordCamp Verona in Italy just a couple of weeks ago, and there was a talk on growth by design, which is actually something anybody can take the course. It's on HubSpot. It's a free course, and it's something that I've been sort of instinctively doing with my clients also, and that really works if you have smaller clients. So if you tell them, okay, you know, you need to invest like 20 or 30 grand to see, in order to see real growth, they're gonna just go and also, if they've never worked with you before, they're gonna be scared. They just don't know. It's a big investment for a small company. And yes, you can tell, well, yeah, but it's only a small fraction of your revenue. It's like, yeah, but still, you know, it's scary. So growth by design is deploying thing, you know, first of all, researching a lot. So it goes with a design thinking methodology that I like to use, and then also it's about being less precious and just releasing, you know, launching when things are not that perfect. But it's because on the web, unlike in print, we have the luxury of tweaking and testing and actually improving based on data, which is really, otherwise there's no improvement. So I agree entirely. And also I would like to say that when I had the fantastic experience of working in leading a design team, where I was also, because I was really hands-on, I loved designing, so I didn't want to stop doing that. And every time I was designing something, at one stage I would be like, even if it, you know, it was still a mess, a jumble of things, I would call someone and go, okay, tell me, what do you think? Because they all knew the brief. We'd been, you know, they all knew the brief, and it was like, And it was so amazing to actually not be precious about it and have someone say, who's not a designer, say, no, I don't think you're saying that really well. I mean, the improvements that would come out of having someone else comment on my work was so huge that now I really it. And what I do is actually I do it via Zoom, because now I'm sort of, you know, in a different situation, in a different work. I work remotely mostly. I think it's really, really, really important. And I think that especially with the web, there's always been a real division between designers and developers, with both slightly snobbish towards the other. I remember when I started approaching the web, I was working with, you know, developers who were dear friends, but we used to be really quite, you know, the sarcastic kind of English humor to one another. That's how we treated one another. And because they were saying, you know, there was the old myth that basically if you're a designer, you have a different type of brain and therefore you can't understand coding. And I believed that for years because my, you know, developer friends kept telling me that. And then I was like, no, I want to learn. And I'm not a developer, but I definitely learned enough to understand the web better. And I firmly believe that whoever says that designers should learn at least the basics, they're right. I really think that they're right. But now lately, and especially with Design for Geeks, I'm definitely thinking also the opposite, that developers should learn about design, because otherwise they don't understand why we make certain choices, or they don't actually understand that the experience is a whole, it's the whole website, and that includes the code. And so that's why obviously we got on so well, and that's why I was so excited about the SEO talk, because I hadn't thought about it. I just hadn't thought about it being part of the design thing. I was like, I can't wait. And I watched it. I can't remember if I managed to watch it live, but I was, it would have been possible, but I don't know. But anyway, I watched it shortly after.
Yeah, it's up on YouTube, I believe. And then of course the slides are there. But, and also I think it's not just the fact that, you know, raising the profile of design, but it's also kind of almost educating people, because and not just other developers, SEOs, and marketers as well, but also the client, because I think a lot of people look at design and they think you just do and then it looks gorgeous and it looks amazing, but actually it takes time.
The magic one.
Because there are
the magic one.
Well, there are different, you know, there are lots of different things involved and different elements involved. And it can take a long time to even put something that may look like it's a really simple design or a really simple design element, but actually it took quite a long time to get there. And you know, that isn't an obvious thing to people. They just think, oh yeah, here's the brief, this is what you do, we're going to work on this over here, you do that bit, and we're giving you 10 minutes to do it or whatever, you know what I mean? And I just think having an understanding of the actual design process when it comes to creating a web layout, for example, it's not just do and it's done. You know, you have to also, you know, there's so many different things that you have to keep in mind. You have to keep in mind what the actual client's business is all about, what their goals are, you know, what their purpose is, and who their clients are. Then, you know, it's a combination of many things that you have to consider as a graphic designer. And I think a lot of people just think we only pay attention to the visual stuff, and actually it's a lot more than that. And so, you know, kind of raising that profile and saying to people, you know, we're not just one kind of department over here that's sitting over here that's just making, you know, doing the last, like the icing on the cake kind of thing. We actually want to be involved from the very start, and we should be involved from the very start.
Yes, because the definition of design actually is solving problems. So that's what I tell developers. We were chatting earlier and we were saying that, you know, developers basically are designers. Anyone who plans a solution to a problem is a designer. That's what the word designer means. So that's the, you know, the long and short of it. But so back to the SEO talk. So I'm sure that the friends who are watching are all thinking, yes, how does design help SEO? So I've watched the talk, and I've seen the slides, which are on SlideShare, by the way. So we'll yeah, Jan is saying, so agree, things take lots more time than most people realize, both through for design and coding, actually, in my experience. Absolutely, so true.
Oh
Because
yeah, coding definitely.
testing, testing, you need to empathize with the user, then you need to devise a solution, and then you need to do a prototype, and then you need to test it. It may not work, so you go back. Hence growth by design as being such a good thing. But yes, so the SEO thing, for all those watching us that are thinking, how does it work? How will design help my SEO?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of things, but one major thing is how intelligent search engines are becoming, in particular Google. They are actually wanting to serve up a good user experience to the people that actually land on the pages. So that's actually becoming more influential when it comes to ranking, and that is down to the layout, is down to the visual elements and the visual indicators. So it's the user interface and the overall user experience, and that's basically how, you know, kind of basically down to the layout and how a website looks and how everything fits together and interacts. And so of course you've got the content that's really important, because that's, you know, that's what the website is all about, and that's what they're saying the website is all about. But the way that you represent that is the visual element and the graphical elements. And so that is actually really, really, really important. And I think when it comes to the world of search engine optimization and the world of developers, they tend to focus on the more techie elements and the code and all of the other search engine optimization activities that you can do to help your website rank. And then design tends to be kind of like one of the forgotten piece, or the very end piece that you put together really quickly. And so my talk was basically saying that we all need to collaborate better. We all need to have all of these elements from the very start together on the same page and develop it that way, and create that successful website that is going to convert and that's going to be found in search engines. So it's really, you know, a combination of all of those elements. And I think, you know, bringing to the surface the fact that design is now a really big ranking factor, I think was something that was a little bit new to the conference. I don't think it's necessarily a new idea, but nobody had spoken out loud about it at this conference. And
conference, is it?
Yeah, so, you know, I was really thrilled actually that you know, my pitch was accepted. And then when I discovered, I mean, for those who don't know about BrightonSEO, it's a massive conference. It attracts about 4,500 people from all around the world, and these are industry experts. And there are about 90 or so talks that happen during the day, and only a handful are picked to be on the main stage, which is in the biggest venue of Brighton, on this like massive stage. It was really quite scary actually. And how they decide which talks get chosen for that main stage is they put it out to a vote by all of the attendees based on the title of your talk. And so I think because the talk about design, because it wasn't one of the usual, you know, talks about link building or, you know, some of the, you know, tag manager or something like that, people's ears perked up a little bit, and they're like, oh, that's really interesting. That might bring a different perspective to SEO and the topic of SEO. And so that's how I ended up being on the main stage, which was pretty terrifying, but you know, great after I'd done it. I think it was a really good feeling after I'd done it. And I think some of the feedback that I got as well was it was really interesting for people to see that from a designer's perspective and a web designer's perspective as well. as opposed to a PR or a marketing or an SEO person,
Yeah.
who would always place content and always, you know, place the SEO activities above design, or that would be the usual case. And so I felt that I was just bringing a different perspective to the conference and to people who work in the industry. And, you know, I thought that was really, well, you know, I thought it was great because it, you know, I think when people are open-minded and they are open to hearing different ideas and different ideas of value as well, then I think, you know, it's great to bring that to a conference.
Absolutely. And the thing is that's why I thought that we, you know, what you were telling me, and I think that we resonated with each other, I think, because when you, at most tech conferences, when there is a design talk, it's a CSS talk. That's not, CSS is a tool. It's not design the way we mean it. We mean something completely different. CSS is a tool. It would be like talking about Photoshop. So it's a new thing. So that's also why I thought, actually, this is really missing from WordCamps. And I decided to start talking about things that are never how to get something done. It goes a little bit deeper than that. I mean, it is actually how to get something done, but it's not about the tools. That's of no interest to me, or technique. It's not about technique, let's say. It's about something that I don't even know how to describe. You could say it is about UX, but it's about design as problem solving and not design as tools or technique. Because even, you know, your classic, when you look for design, you know, graphic design on the web, all you find, mostly you find things like, you know, tutorial, how to do a poster in Illustrator. I mean, I've written one of those, but, you know, and now I want for it to be something that's much more useful, really, because it teaches you a way of thinking and a way of doing things and a way of doing things together, which is another thing that really unites us. Because I was thinking, was it like that before? I mean, it's a fairly new thing that you have these two sets of people, one's the developer and one's the designer, that have to work together. When it was just for print, it wasn't like that. You know, you would go, yes, you had to collaborate with the people who were printing the book or the leaflet or whatever, but it wasn't as, it wasn't, so Davinda made a comment, I'm going to read it in a bit. It wasn't as essential in a way, or a printer wouldn't say, no, you can't, you know, that's that margin isn't right, you can't, that's too much white space there, you need to, you know, a printer would never say anything like that.
And on that same vein, you don't just have the designer and the developer, you also have the marketer who's bringing the strategy. Absolutely. You got the SEO who's talking about the ranking factors and what you need to do behind the scenes and offsite and everything, all of that. It gets very complex. Nowadays, in order to market a business, it's way more complex than it used to be. There's so many more elements that you have to pay attention to. So you've got all of these, you know, and you can't be an expert in everything. So you need the team. The team is, you know, that's what's going to be, you know, what's going to help you grow as a company and be able to help your clients. You need that team because you need those experts, and, you know, you need the different perspectives as well. And so I think, you know, the way that websites are going, it's just constantly changing. I mean, you know, my old company, I was a web designer, and I did graphic design and web design, and I, you know, designed and built websites for clients. Well, I realized that I couldn't sustain that. I actually had to change what I was doing. I had to bring in, you know, the marketing perspective. I had to bring in the SEO, you know, because it just got to that point where I won't be able to survive as a business by doing just what I'm doing unless I, you know, take a step back and only become a freelancer and only do one thing. I couldn't actually take my company forward. And I think, you know, that's even now that's changing.
Yeah, and that's what I absolutely, and I have, you know, providers that are associates that I call in, and I always tell my clients, no, you need to do SEO, and, you know, and I'm doing it with this person. If you like them, maybe they can but I can't possibly do it all myself. It's impossible. And yes, and the reason I was thinking about the collaboration bit, I was thinking about how I wanna be fair, because sometimes it also goes the other way. It's not just because I've personally, I've just been talking from the point of view of the designer from now on, but it's also really annoying when I now, well, not annoying, but I see now designers for print who move to the web and they haven't done it before, and they just go for it. They just do it because they get so excited because things move on the web, which is great. So they start, you know, they're the typical websites with all the animations, with a tooltip that has, you know, something cool there. And with the beloved, sorry, I'm just reading Davinder's comments, because he says something that's really, really opposite to what we're saying. He's saying biggest problem with design and SEO, when designing, most people forget flow of H1 and H2 headlines. Absolutely true. They do. Yeah. And this is a mistake that marketers and designers do. Designers for print that haven't actually studied it enough and think it's just exciting that they can make animations.
But this is why, you know, working
like SEO.
SEO will make that point, and that will be part of the report that we're given, that we all need to read when we do that initial audit, or when we do the competitor analysis, or when we do, you know, the SEO key phrase research. That will come out in the reports. And if designers are reading that and developers are reading that, then we're all on the same page, and we all have the same starting point, and we all know, okay, when we're designing, when we're developing, we need to pay attention to these elements in order to create a website that's going to be found in searches, but that's also going to be, when it's found, people are going to have your experience. Yeah, and they're going to want to share it, and which creates more inbound links for that website. So it's all, you know, that whoever made that comment, yes, I totally agree. Yes.
Well, we had the very much missed Vaughan Simmons, who's someone that was a really good friend of many of us, and that sadly isn't with us anymore. But he used to do this thing that I just loved in the Design for Geeks group. He used to share on every Friday. There was an email from, I can't remember which service. I do get it as well. Anyway, it was like best site of the week. And invariably the best site of the week was a nightmare of accessibility and user experience, because it was full of animations, full of all the things that are, you know, the wrongest possible that, you know, with a website, because we now know, I mean, you know, it's curbing your creativity is important, because it's not about you. It's not about your creativities, but it's about the end user. And the end user, you don't know who's going to be there. You need to make sure that people don't get motion sick because you put so many absolutely pointless animations. So so that's something and usually the interesting thing that is that all the web design awards, those are the websites that get awarded, because it's like, oh, it's very cool. And maybe it is, but it's not actually that usable, because you haven't thought about the other bits. You have just thought about showing off your design prowess and your creativity. And that's, I think, what marketers and SEO people and certainly developers get annoyed about with designers, basically. So that's back to what you're saying, that we need to all talk together. And especially developers, they tend to be more on their own. I mean, the typical, the sort of, you know, Maul Cohen is saying 95% of the sites on Dribble, gorgeous, but will never be responsive. That's another really important point. So yes, let's all talk together. And I don't think we're ever going to eradicate the crazy, you know, but pointless or unusable websites. Whatever, fine. Let's let them have fun. I can't spend any time on them because I have weird motion sickness issues.
Well, that's an interesting point that you brought up, Piccia, the motion sickness, because I think a lot of, you know, video is incredibly people are using video a lot more on their websites, which, yeah, that's great. But there's so many websites that I click straight off of because the video is like a drone flying over 100 miles an hour, the sea or a cityscape or something, and it just makes me feel physically ill. So I can't actually watch them. So
I cannot watch it. I cannot watch.
That's an example of like a designer getting or perhaps it's down to the website owner, who knows, but they, it's getting carried away with that feature rather than thinking of the end user, and wanting it to be flashy and oh yeah, video is all the rage, and video is important, definitely, but you have to think from the end user what their experience is going to be like, and not just one certain type of end user as well. And this is where it becomes so complex, because your talk on color mentioned so much about accessibility that I kind of sat back and I was like, oh my goodness, there's so much work to be done.
And I used to use color without a second thought about it, because I love color so much. It's like, the brighter the better. And then once you start, looking into it, you're like, actually, now I've learned that you really never more than 75% saturation on the web, because it just goes bzzz, like that. So, all these things, that there's so much to bear in mind, so much, which is why we need to all talk. And we can't, personally, I am a bit of a, I love to know many things. I have to curb because I love learning so much. I don't like specializing. I do like specializing, but it's still as part of the fact that I love to do many different things. So I have to be careful like that, because if I could, I would actually go and learn absolutely everything about SEO. Like, no, you can't do that. You can't. Don't. So yes, but that's why. Once again, it's really important that we're all aware of the process, and that we make choices for a reason. And that's, I think, the most important thing, because all those designers that do the crazy designs, so thank you, Jan. He's saying Vaughan used to share Site of the Week from the Site Inspire mailing list. That's the one. So, and they're all just unusable, but so entertaining. And some of them, they do look gorgeous. They do, but it's, So I think that the most important thing to learn for designers is, it's not about you. It's not about your creativity. It's about the end user. The thing that clients need to learn is, it's not about you. It's about the end user. Because often, how many times do we have to contend with the fact that the client says, can you change, can you tweak that, pink a little bit? And it's like, because I don't like it. It's like, but it's not about what you like. It really isn't. And also, it's about the end user, first of all, but also it's about what you want them to do. And we need to step back from personal taste, really. That's something that's also really important.
Yeah. And I think to build on what you were saying about what the client wants as well, I feel like, working, running my company and work and speaking with people, because basically what we do is we help people. That's the going to the very basic explanation of what we do.
Yeah.
We help people. We help people. And so, we do a lot of talking with people, and it's finding that balance, because some of our clients look to us to bring that expertise and to bring that advice and say, actually, that button needs to be blue instead of pink, or whatever the case is. And actually, you need to make sure that you have that in your menu, and you need to have this many pages and that are talking about this content for the SEO side. So that, it's a combination and a fine balance, I think, where you're giving that expert advice based on the data, based on experience, based on the success of other projects, but yet you're still listening to what they want, their end user, but also what their company is all about, because each company has, they have their own ethos, they have their own target market, all of that kind of thing. So you've got to listen really well, and then translate what you're hearing into the solution. But you also need to bring that experience and advise them really intelligently, and focus on them, but also bring your expertise to it. So I think it's a combination of that balance too, because we all get those clients who want it done this way, and they won't budge, and they think they know everything. And so you do have to very kind of softly maybe offer a different perspective. But at the end of the day, it's their company. We can't make them do something. So yeah, it's that balance. But I think, we really like working with companies that value design and value the experience that we bring to projects. Because, I just think I'm not saying, we want to be bossy and boss them around and everything, but I just think, we really enjoy working with companies like that because they understand the value that we can bring to their company. And that's where we sit well, I think, in our marketplace.
Yes, absolutely. And so we've got about 5 more minutes to go. So if you were to sum up in a few points for all of us talking to you today, what you think are the main points that we can sell to our clients when let's say that a new client comes in and we tell them that they need to redesign, and actually they can't just go with a theme, or we can go with a theme but then build on it, redesign it to their own needs, because the theme was developed for someone that has completely different needs from them. And also, as a plus, it will help their SEO. I think it's such a great selling point. So that's always what I always say as well. It's like if you give your clients the reasons why, you can probably sell them more as well. Not get your own way sounds horrible, but convince them that your choice is the right choice because it's not based on personal taste, but also sell them more. In this case, design as a part of SEO, because I think SEO is easier to sell. They understand that. They like, you tell them, well, you need to be found. So what would be for you the main...
You say that, Piccia, but actually that is quite a difficult sell, mainly because it's a long process and it needs to be done on an ongoing basis. You can't just do SEO work on a website and then just leave it. It needs to be done in an ongoing process, and that can incur an ongoing cost. And so a lot of clients look at SEO and they think, oh, it's something I can do later. So actually it's the website that
doesn't it? That's your point.
Yeah, they tend to, they've got budget or a certain amount of budget, and they're thinking, what can make the biggest impact immediately for the budget that we have? And we present them with everything that we can do, and 9 times out of 10, they'll pick the website out. And they say, okay, let's refresh our website. And for us, it's a little bit frustrating because the refresh doesn't involve just the visual look of the website. It involves the behind the scenes and the SEO work as well. So, really for us, I think, and for others who are watching, who do a similar thing, if you can almost present it to them as one piece of work or one element together that go hand in hand. So it's not just, okay, here's the website, you can do this, here's the SEO bit, you can do this, but actually integrate them in your proposals and the way that you talk about things, then that will get them thinking in a way that isn't separating them out as different services, I guess. And that's a really hard thing to do because it is a service and it is a separate service. But if you can present it in a way that makes it almost impossible to do one without the other really well, or to get those results and grow the business and get more inquiries through the website without having both of those elements, then that will encourage them to buy it all together as one, but also for them to see how it would help them and how it would work for them. So I guess, to sum up, having it, and it goes back to, again, having that collaborative mindset within your team, and actually, not having, I mean, I know we say we have separate services and everything, and we do, and you know, we want to be open to all of that. However, by, you know, just trying to answer your question, by presenting it in that all-rounded way that combines it all, that makes it seem you know, all integrated, then I think that is the way forward. And companies and business owners will start to see it in that way more so than, you know, the way that we're seeing it now. So
Yeah,
I hope that answers your question.
It does. And I mean, what jumped to me the most was what you said, and what you say in the talk, that and what you said earlier about design being now a criteria for search and for ranking, because it's also about how long people stay on your website, and
Yes.
that Google makes it a ranking factor. So clearly a badly designed website no one wants to stay on. Or also what you say in the talk when you say no one wants to be linked back to a crappy looking website.
Yeah.
So there's also that, you know, there are so many things.
Yeah. Because that leads into online reputation as well. You know, you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to be guiding your own users and your prospective clients to something that looks terrible.
Absolutely. And for instance, I used to use SiteGround, and then I moved on for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons was that they told me at WordCamps they were redesigning, because I was like, I find it really uncomfortable as a designer who puts so much weight into design and ease of use to recommend you as a host, because your design, the experience on your website is terrible. So, and the cPanel, my God, should be just, you know, and they said, 2.5 years ago, they said, yeah, that's being completely redesigned. It's going to look like Flywheel. And it's like, no, 2.5 years later, hasn't happened. So there's also that. I mean, they lost me as a client because I was like, I actually, also for other reasons, but that was one. It's like, I genuinely cannot recommend a host that looks like that and that has such a clunky experience, when I could be recommending a host that costs, you know, just as much, and it's so easy to use, because that's what it's about. It looks lovely, because Flywheel looks lovely, and it's also really, really, really easy to use. I moved somewhere else now, which is maybe it doesn't look as great, but it's incredibly easy to use as well. So, you know, that's what design is. So these are the ways. And now we've reached 45 minutes. I am so delighted. So basically, just to wrap up and explain again, this was the first of a series of live talks on design that we're going to do on the Design for Geeks page and share to the Design for Geeks group. And they are going to become a podcast as soon as I can get around the tax side, and they will have, you know, they will look much fancier. But and it's going to happen every 2 weeks, and it's going to be on design subjects that are relevant for everyone that works on the web. They're good. That's the agenda, really. So
well, I look forward to tuning in a couple of weeks' time to see who you're chatting with. Absolutely.
The next 2 talks, the dates need to be confirmed with the interviewees, but they're going to be on accessibility and variable fonts. So in general, but specifically variable fonts. So it's yes, I'm really, really, really looking forward to all of that. And the designers who are speaking, but they're with a different kind of point of view, our point of view, basically. So thank you so much, Meg, for, you know, being the launch pad. I didn't say the right there. Anyway, for being the first very much esteemed guest.
Oh, thank you very much. Great. Thank you, Piccia.